All right, y'all, here we go again. So this is the current procedure terminology coding book that you would be using for your exam, aka CPT. Now, it is divided into 3 main sections. These sections are also classified as category. Now, category 1 holds code for procedures and services, including evaluation and management, anesthesia, surgery, radiology, pathology, and laboratory. Now, category 2 holds optional codes for performance measures, providing supplementary information about healthcare services. And the last category is category 3, which holds codes that are classified as temporary codes for emerging technology services and procedure. So another thing to keep in mind is that each code consists of 5 digits, and depending on the categories can either be numeric or alphanumeric. Also, they may include modifiers to provide additional details about the services that were performed or services that were actually rendered to the patient. So to further elaborate on the CPT code and its representation, the codes actually represent a written description of the procedure or services, like we said, that was rendered. It actually removes the subjective interpretation of precisely what was provided to that patient. All right, so one tip to remember is that with the CPT categories that I mentioned earlier, this refers to the division of the code set. So keep that in mind when you are studying your CPT book. Also, the code sets are extremely large and includes the codes for thousands upon thousands of medical procedures. Another thing to keep in mind is that CPT code is designed for flexibility and revision. So if you take a close look at the codes, you'll notice there are lots of space between the codes to accommodate this. So in reference to a particular procedure or technology, the CPT codes that you see in the books does not correspond to a particular procedure or a particular technology. That being said, this means that the CPT code tells the insurance payer what procedure the healthcare provider would like to be reimbursed for. So let's talk a bit more about the CPT code. We know that they are really crucial to what the provider has rendered to a patient. Another thing you want to keep in mind about the CPT codes is that it is also used to track important health data. It also measures performance and efficiencies. Also, government agencies can use CPT codes to track the prevalence and value of certain procedures that have been performed on a patient. And the hospitals can also use CPT codes to evaluate the efficiency and ability of individuals or divisions within their facility. CPT is also used for administrative management purposes, such as claims processing and developing guidelines for medical care review. I think this is really important for those of us in leadership roles. When you have those claim processing, when you're trying to develop guidelines, workflows, CPT can aid to that cause. Another thing is it is known as a code set that has the uniform language that is also applicable to medical education and research by providing a useful base for local, regional, and national utilization comparison. This is truly very important. There are lots of usages when it comes to CPT codes. So guys, as you study and prep for your exam and you have to use the CPT code book, you want to make sure that you have a thorough understanding of how to dissect the book and how to use the book. The CPT code book has many different layers of organization. So keep that in mind and make sure that you know that the more you understand that system is going to make it easier when you'll have to go in and find all those codes and then enter the correct code for what you need or based on that scenario during your exam. So here is a quick high level of what or how a medical coder will be using CPT codes. The medical coder will receive information from the healthcare provider about which procedure or service they rendered to that patient. And then what's going to happen is the coder is going to use that CPT code book to find and enter the correct code. So there's so many different ways when it comes to utilizing the code book, and you want to be sure you have a thorough understanding to make sure you're inputting the correct code so that when it goes over to billing to have that provider get paid and reimbursed, you are using the appropriate codes. So we know that medical coders usually will typically use that CPT code to accurately translate healthcare services into standard codes for billing and documentation. Here is how the process typically works. I'm going to break it down in a few steps. First thing is the review of medical documentation. So the coder begins by reviewing the patient's medical record, including physician notes, diagnosis results, and any other relevant documentation to understand the services that was rendered. The next thing would be for them to identify the specific service, procedure, and treatment that was provided during the patient's encounter. The next thing is for them to select the appropriate CPT code. So of course, this is based on the same service that they have identified that was rendered to the patient. The coder is going to consult that CPT book to find the appropriate code, which they may end up having to use from those categories that I mentioned earlier, category 1, 2, 3, etc. They may also use things such as modifiers as applicable to ensure accuracy and compliance is being adhered to. All right, y'all, to give you some more breakdown on modifiers, when I bring up modifiers, something to keep in mind is when necessary, coders append modifiers to the CPT codes to indicate any special circumstances that may have occurred. Now, this is going to be something that affected the billing. So you'll have things like bilateral procedure or multiple procedures that was performed on the patient. Then when we talk about accuracy and compliance, something to keep in mind is that coders must ensure that the selected code accurately reflects the service that was provided. And it also has to comply with payers' guideline to avoid any type of claim denials. So after the accurate code has been identified, these codes, the CPT codes, are going to now be put into the healthcare facilities billing system. So whatever system that organization, that healthcare facility uses, they're going to use that to input the codes that has been identified for the services that was obviously rendered for that patient. Now, once that has happened, they're going to use those codes to generate claims for insurance reimbursement. Now, this is where the follow-up step happens in reference to claims. Coders may also be involved in tracking claims and responding to any questions, any queries, or any denial from payers, ensuring that all services are billed correctly. So let's venture into my final point, which is about tools and resources. As you know, as a coder, you're going to be using so many different various tools and resources. You want to have your supporting documentation and anything you need to ensure that you are coding accurately. So the CPT Codebook, of course, is the primary resource that you're going to be using to find your codes. There's also different coding software that many coders can use to enhance their coding, to help assist with the different things that they can find in the database to make it easier and more efficient when they're coding. Then you want to ensure that you're using the proper training tools and guidelines when you are coding those charts. Now, make sure that you understand that the continuous education and adherence to coding guidelines from organizations such as American Academy of Professional Coders, that's AAPC, and the AHIMA, that's the American Health Information Management Association, are essential for accuracy. So you want to rely on those associations. So guys, this is just an overall high-level steps as to how medical coders who are coding CPT codes are able to ensure that healthcare providers are accurately reimbursed for their services that they provide to our patients, while maintaining that compliance that is much needed with regulations and standards that have to be met per policies and procedures that we have in our healthcare organization. All right, y'all, I hope you found this video to be informative and helpful. Just wanted to provide a high level kind of overview of CPT code set itself and what it's all about, how the codes are utilized with the coders, their process from start to finish in reference to reimbursement, category structures, and things that you may want to know about CPT codes. Now make sure to comment down below, support your girl, let me know your thoughts on this video, and let me know if you have any questions and any other content you would like for me to bring to this channel. I appreciate your love and support, and I'll see you guys on the next one.